Hey everybody, it's me again. I have just been thinking a lot lately about my life, and I've been thinking a lot about just my story in total. And I feel like my story has really shaped who I've become, and just how my faith has come. So today I just want to talk about that. To start off, I was in a car accident when I was 6. My head split open from the right side of my skull to right here, which made it to where my brain had actually split open. And in the emergency room, I died for 3 minutes. And it's insane to me that I'm still here. But I know that it was God because I saw Jesus. And I'm not trying to say that for fame or clout. I saw the Son of God. And I remember I was 6 years old, mind you. I had not a clue who Jesus really was. I just knew that he was up on a cross for some reason. And I always knew him as the man from the book, or the man from the Bible. And I knew that saying, oh my God, or Jesus Christ, was a bad thing. And I knew that I shouldn't have said it when I was a kid. And there's 3 minutes that my heart was gone, my heart was stopped, however you want to depict it. I remember Jesus Christ pointing at me, like pointing behind me, not like this. He had a lot more armor, but I'm in my car, so you know. And I woke up after being in a coma for 3 weeks. First thing I said to the nurse or my nana, whoever it might have been, I think it was my nana, is I said that I saw God. I had no memory of my family. I didn't know who my mom was. I didn't know who my biological father was. I didn't know who my brothers were. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know I didn't know what was happening when I woke up. I didn't know how to breathe properly. I didn't know how to eat, how to talk, how to walk. I couldn't smell, which I thought was weird. I couldn't hear very well. I couldn't see that well. I had to relearn how to live, and people are like, oh, it's medicine, it's science. You can't bring somebody back from the dead like that. Not someone who is so broken and genuinely on death's edge. You can't bring them back from seeing God. See, I learned that I was in a coma for 3 weeks after surgery. I learned that after those 3 weeks, I woke up and said, I saw God. Now, for everybody that was around me, those 3 weeks were long. For me, it was like a nap. I remember being in my mom's Jeep playing Minecraft or whatever. I think it was like a Minecraft game that's important. And I remember just sitting there, look over at my brother, and be like, that's my brother. Look at my mom, like, look at her, I love my mom. And then I look down, and then it's black. And then I wake up and I see Jesus Christ. And then I wake up again, and I'm in some blinding white room. And I was scared, because it's like, it felt like genuinely being reborn. Not spiritually, but literally. And, I eventually found out that I was blind in one eye. And I didn't know that at the time, because, I couldn't tell. And it was hard for me, because I'd get bullied for it. And I was scared of the dark up until a few years ago, because all darkness around me was death. And it was scary. And I remember my surgeries. I remember my hospital visits, my eye appointments. I remember them having to stick a tube up my nose into my eye because my eye socket is broken. Or not my eye socket, but my tear duct is broken. And the entire time that I was in this hospital, my friends and my family were praying for me. Well, that my friends were, because none of us really knew God like that I knew of. But people who were actually close to me were sad, and they were crying, and they were just so heartbroken to see me. Little old me was enjoying it. I was getting, chicken dumpling soup, which used to be my favorite. Because I don't know. And I was getting all these cool toys, and it was like Christmas every day for me. And then I went back to school and I got bullied, and that shapes me a lot in who I am. Realizing don't always talk, and it's okay to be quiet, and it's okay to listen and understand. But I think throughout all of this, I admit, even after saying, oh, I saw God, I didn't have the best relationship with God. I didn't have the best relationship with God even whenever I did get to know him after I got baptized. My relationship with God has been on and off because I kept messing up, And there was times where I was suicidal. There's a time where I've even attempted. And I remember going to church camp and giving it to God. And I remember, just begging God to take me away. Because I was so overwhelmed with my guilt and my sin. But then I go back to the day that Jesus saved me, not just on the cross, but when he saved me from that car crash, the crash that killed me, but brought me back and genuinely reborn or rebirthed me into a new life. Same family, different me. I find it insane that, just one minor accident or one major accident or whatever it may be can change somebody's life. And, whenever I've struggled like I am now, I always remember, God put me here for a reason. Oh, sorry, y'all. God put me on this earth for a reason. And just because I keep messing up and I keep messing just relationships up, or my family isn't the best, or maybe my mental or physical or spiritual health ain't the best, but I know that God's putting me through that for a purpose, so that my story can grow and inspire others to grow. And I don't know, sometimes it gets really hard to see that, but I know that he has a plan for me, regardless of what I may think, regardless if I think that God's thrown me away or if God's just forgot about me. But I know he hasn't, because I'm still here. If God didn't care about me, if God didn't love me, if God wanted me dead, I would have already been dead. And as much as past me would have loved to have been in heaven, I know now that my job here is not done. And I know that no matter what I do with my life, I know that God is going to be behind it. And I know that God is going to help me. Because he helped me then. He helped me before. He helped me before I was alive. He guided me through my spiritual journey. He got me through my mental illness. He got me through my depression, through my suicidal ideation and my suicidal attempts. He got me through breakups. He got me through the pain and the heartache, the suffering that I had to endure because other people didn't feel like being nice. I had nobody, but I had God the entire time. From birth, even before I was born, God was with me. For the God says, for he knew the child before he was born. God was with me during my life, during my death, and during my rebirth, because that is who God is. He's never going to leave. God has never left my life. God has always been in my life, and regardless of how far I push him out, he's always going to be in my life. And I find that incredible. I am so lucky that I have an amazing God who loves me so much that he sent his one and only son on that cross for me. And sometimes I feel so ungrateful, because I'm like, well, if God really loved me, I would have my eye back. If God really loved me, I'd be able to smell. I wouldn't be fat. I wouldn't be depressed. I wouldn't be suicidal. But I'm realizing every single person in the Bible went through the same kind of things. People struggled with depression. People struggled with illness. People struggled with health. People struggled with fitness. People struggled financially. They struggled spiritually. But Jesus still said, I love you because you are with me. When I put myself through hell trying to become a better person, I put myself through the worst of the worst. I could have walked through a pile full of cacti and I would have come out unscathed because my faith in God was so strong. But no, I had to earn that the hard way. I couldn't just walk through fire and not be burned. I had to be burned so I could walk through fire. I had to hurt so I could heal. Because if I don't heal, I can't hurt. And if I can't hurt, I can't heal. I gotta hurt to be able to learn from my mistakes, from my pain. Because in that pain, that's where God met me. In my death, that's where God met me. He didn't meet me sitting in the church pew when I was singing hymns and talking to the pastor. He didn't meet me when I'm out with friends at lunch. He met me when I'm in my closet crying for God to take me away. He met me on my floor after I tried to overdose. He met me whenever I tried cutting myself. He met me when I tried slicing my neck. He met me when I was at my lowest, because God is always there. He is there in my valleys, and He's been there in my mountains. I didn't meet God in no happy place. I met God when I was at the lowest, when I was about to kill myself in my kitchen. Everyone's always going to say, oh, I met God here, I met God there. That's great, and I'm so happy for them. But I don't have that story. My story was meeting God when I was on the verge of killing myself, because my life had been so bad, because I had lost so many people, and I didn't know how to deal with that, because I never learned how to deal with that, that I had to cry to God, God, kill me. God, take me away. But I'll go back to the car accident, and I think, if He would have let me die, He would have done it 12 years ago. When I was 6 years old and on the ground with my head split open in my mom's arms. He would have let me die right there if that would have been my story. But my story ain't over yet. You know, and I've been told to kill myself by people who hated me. I've been told that I don't deserve life. I've been told by the devil that my life is worthless and that I should just give in to sin. I should just give in to death. But no, that's not who I am, because I'm going to stand up every time that I push to the ground, every time that I put myself on the ground, every time that my knees are kicked out below me and I fall, I will rise up, because God gave me that strength. He gave me that courage. He gave me that power to stand up after falling. He put me on this earth for a reason, and I don't know what that reason might be. I'm hoping it's to help people, because that's the only thing that feels right in my life. But if I'm not here to help, I know God has His purpose for me. Whether that's to lead them to Him, introduce Him to them, whether it may be to even take them to church one time so that they can heal. That is what God put me for, and I'm fully for it. Because God has a use for me. If He didn't, I would have been dead. You know, and it's just, it breaks my heart to hear people say, oh, but if God really loved me, He would do this. If God really loved me, He would do that. I've been in those same shoes. I was in those shoes a few days ago. I said, if God really loved me, I would have been dead when that car accident happened. If God really loved me, I would have been blind in my right eye. I wouldn't have a nausea. I'd be able to smell stuff. I said so much rude stuff about the God who saved me, the God who sacrificed His Son, because I wasn't grateful for what I already had. There's so many people in the world that would love for the life that I live, and I'm beyond grateful for the life that I live. I'm beyond lucky to have what I have, and I'm beyond blessed to suffer the way I've suffered, and I'm beyond blessed to be able to hurt the way that I've hurt, to heal the way that I've healed, to meet the people that have hurt me and healed me in the same time, to be able to grow and learn from the mistakes, but having to fall back again because I kept making the same mistakes, getting to hurt again so I don't have to make that. God let that happen. And I'm not mad about it, because I put myself through that. It's called free will. I could have gone to God whenever I lost somebody to cancer, or at least was what I was told. I could have gone to God whenever my heart was shattered from losing my first love. I could have gone to God whenever my depression and my suicidal ideation was so strong that I genuinely started cutting my wrists, started cutting my arms, tried taking too much drugs so I'd die. But I put myself through that because I didn't go to God. But God was still there. When I was crying in the shadow with blood running down my arm, God was still there. God never left my side. Throughout the entire 18 years of my existence so far, He had always been right there. That is God speaking. I have felt alone. I have felt abandoned, but God did not abandon me. I abandoned Him. But I came back. And I came back, and I came back, and I came back, and again and again and again, because I know what is the purpose of me living if I don't have a God to love, if I don't have a God that loves me. My life becomes vague. My life becomes pointless. At least in my eyes, if I don't have a worth, if I don't have a God, I will always serve God. Even if my faith is as small as a grain of sand, my faith is still going to stand, because nothing will separate me from my God. Because my love for God, it varies sometimes. Not because I hate him, but because sometimes I hurt myself. But my love will always be there for God. I will never yell at God that it's his fault. I can't do that, because it's my fault for the reason I've suffered. It's other people's fault for the reason I've suffered. It's just the world that we live in. God did not allow this to happen. God said this is going to happen. It wasn't something that he was going to stop, because let's say I was blind of one eye, or I wasn't blind of one eye, and I didn't go through that car accident, I would be in the military right now. That would have been my dream. Or become a police officer, or become a firefighter. But now I'm going to school to become a pastor. I'm currently a security guard right now, helping to keep the neighborhood safe. I don't know what my plan is. I know that God's going to be part of all of it. I don't know who I'm going to marry, who I'm going to end up with, but I know that God does. And I know that whoever that woman may be, God's going to create that person perfectly. And I'm not going to say, oh, my wife's going to be perfect. No, we're all imperfect. But I'm still going to choose that person each and every day. Because God made someone like that for me, and made me for someone like that. I'm sorry, I got a little bit off track about the entire story. But God has such an amazing plan for everybody. And whether you realize that now or in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, he's got a plan. Sometimes we're just too blind to see it, because we're so caught up in the what if, but we're not realizing it's already been said, and it's already been said that God knows. For God has great plans for you to prosper, not plans for you to be hurt. He has good plans for you, maybe not to prosper. I'm not sure if that's what it was. I believe it is. God has good plans for you, plans not to hurt you, but to heal you or give you peace, something like that. I apologize for not knowing it off the top of my head right now. But God has a plan for me. And I will never know what that plan is until I can get my eyes open and my face, well, not my face, but my life figured out. There's no one on this earth that can love me like God does. And I will never pretend that I can love somebody more than I love God, because God was God was my Omega, and he was my Alpha. He was there from the beginning, and he will be there till the end, as he has said. For Luke 1:37 says, for nothing shall be impossible with God. And I've experienced this so many times in my life. I've experienced hardship. I've experienced depression. I've experienced having to overcome suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts and suicidal temptation, suicidal attempts, suicidal cuts. I've had to worry about so much stuff, about covering my arms up, about wearing long sleeves, even if it hurt, because the blood was still running whenever I was going to school, because I'd cut fresh, because I was hurting every single day. I always thought I'm not going to make it to a certain age. I thought I was going to die at 18. I thought I was going to kill myself at 18. Here I am, 18, about to turn 19 next month. I'm still living. I'm still going strong, because I knew that God had a plan for me, and I knew that I could make it to this age, because it was not going to be impossible, because if I had God in my life, I could do anything I pretty much darn wanted to do. And I wanted to survive. I wanted to live. I wanted to get married. I want to have kids. I want to become a father. I want to love my children and love my wife. I want to get to know more people. I want to spread the word of God. I want to spread the love that God has given me, because I have so much love. I want to share it with everybody. This is my story. And my story grows each and every day. God bless you all, and good night.